Elvis Presley story? You're wrong. There's now a man in Vegas who's claiming to be Elvis's son.
The legacy of Elvis Presley continues to captivate the world, but a surprising twist has surfaced. Elvis Aaron Presley Jr., long claiming to be the king's son, has shared DNA results that reveal the truth about his parentage. Do the findings confirm his identity or expose a different story? Join us as we uncover the details behind this mystery. The hidden path of Elvis Presley Jr. Elvis Presley Jr. tells a story that begins in the year 1961, when Elvis Presley was 26 years old. He had just completed his service in the United States Army and was back in the spotlight, filming the bright and sunny musical Blue Hawaii. At that time, Elvis was not only a star, he was a worldwide sensation. Every movement, every word, and every decision he made was under the watchful eyes of his fans, the press, and perhaps most importantly, his powerful manager, Colonel Tom Parker. In Presley Jr.'s account, it was during the making of Blue Hawaii that Elvis crossed paths with Angelique Pettyjohn, a young actress and model who was then working small roles in film and television. According to this version, the two became involved in a brief but passionate romance. For Presley Jr., this chapter is the foundation of his identity, because he believes it was from this relationship that he was born. The idea of such a scandal in those years would have been explosive. Elvis had been carefully presented as the wholesome idol, a charming bachelor whose image appealed to millions. Any news of him fathering a child out of wedlock could have caused a storm that would threaten not just his reputation, but also the empire built around him. Presley Jr. claims that this is where Colonel Parker intervened. To shield Elvis's public image, Parker allegedly made sure the child would be placed for adoption, ensuring that no headlines could tarnish the carefully created vision of the king as an unattached heartthrob. According to this account, Angelique Pettyjohn gave up the baby soon after birth. The child was adopted by circus performers, an unusual upbringing that gave him a very different childhood from the one he imagines he might have had. His adoptive name, Philip Stanek, was entered into official records, creating a legal identity that concealed his claimed origins. Yet, as Presley Jr. tells it, there were always signs left behind, fragments of paper and forgotten stories that eventually led him to search for the truth. Two documents in particular became central to his claim. The first was his adoption record, which traced the official path of his early life. The second, and far more significant in his view, was a baptismal certificate that named him as Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. For him, this certificate is more than just a formality. It represents what he believes to be the strongest evidence of his connection to Elvis Presley, a tangible link to a hidden lineage tied to one of the most legendary names in music history. Skeptics have always questioned these claims. Historians and the Presley estate point out that baptismal records can be altered or created long after the fact, and therefore cannot be considered undeniable proof. Still, despite the doubts, the story has endured. Within Presley Jr.'s loyal circles of fans and followers, these whispered beginnings are taken seriously. They see in him the possibility, however small, that the king of rock and roll did indeed leave behind a secret heir. But who exactly is this secret heir, and why might he be making such bold claims? The mystery life of Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. For more than 40 years, a man with a sharp hairstyle, glittering stage clothes, and a name that instantly sparks curiosity has stepped under bright lights to perform songs millions know by heart. His name is Elvis Aaron Presley Jr., and while countless performers have made careers imitating the king of rock and roll, his story carries a twist that sets him apart. He does not just perform like Elvis, he insists that he is the biological son of the legend himself. If that claim were ever to be fully proven, it would alter a major chapter in the history of modern music. He was born in the year 1961, given the name Philip Stanek, and adopted soon after his birth. His early childhood is shrouded in privacy, with very little widely known about those first tender years. But as he grew older and stepped into adulthood, Philip began uncovering pieces of a personal story that seemed almost too dramatic to be real. Through whispered family accounts, fragments of paperwork, and a deep inner conviction, he came to believe that his life was forever tied to Elvis Presley in ways most could never imagine. Trusting that path, he went to court in the late 1970s and legally took the name Elvis Aaron Presley Jr., believing that destiny itself had called him to claim his true identity. Armed with his new name and an unshakable belief in his connection to the rock and roll icon, Presley Jr. stepped onto the entertainment scene. He built his career as a tribute artist, bringing nostalgic crowds back to the golden days of Elvis through music and storytelling. His tours reached audiences in places like Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and even across parts of Europe. Fans were drawn not only by the classic songs, but also by the man's willingness to share his story. Between performances, he would sometimes pause to tell audiences about his journey and why he bore such a powerful name. The mixture of familiar melodies with deeply personal accounts gave his shows a unique flavor that distinguished them from other Elvis tributes. But as compelling as his narrative may have been, acceptance has always remained elusive. Historians devoted to Elvis's life and career, as well as biographers who carefully charted the star's relationships, were quick to question Presley Jr.'s account. They pointed out that no verified DNA evidence has ever been made public, and that timelines surrounding Elvis's known romances during the early 1960s appear too tightly documented to leave room for such a child. Members of the Presley circle also denied his story, further fueling debate. Still, Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. has never allowed doubt or dismissal to silence him. He has carried on with his career, continuing to perform for loyal fans and to share the tale that has defined his entire existence. For him, this was never only about impersonation or fame. It has always been about identity, belonging, and the search for answers to questions that lingered since birth. The real question is, what proof can he show to make the world believe? Keep on watching to find out. The elusive search for proof. For all its drama and mystery, the story told by Elvis Presley Jr. has never crossed the final line that separates rumor from truth. That line is proof. At the center of this question lies something both deeply personal and historically important. Is there any way to prove without doubt that Elvis Presley fathered a hidden son? If such evidence existed in the form of real, verifiable DNA, it would change everything about how the world views the king's legacy. Yet, despite the fascination, experts who have dedicated their lives to studying Elvis's world remain doubtful. Researchers, archivists, and biographers who have examined his life in extraordinary detail continue to insist that no credible evidence has surfaced. They point to the fact that Elvis's life, from his army years to his movie sets and concert tours, was carefully documented. His daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, born in 1968 to Elvis and Priscilla, remains the only officially recognized child. For historians, this is not about personal feelings, but about the standards of history. Over the years, many others besides Presley Jr. have stepped forward with similar claims. They described affairs during Elvis's tours, on film locations, or during stays in hotels. Some shared family stories passed down through generations, while others produced documents they believed were convincing. Still, not one of these attempts has met the strict legal or scientific standards required to rewrite the official record of Elvis's life. The result is that every claim remains suspended in the space between possibility and disbelief. The challenge becomes even more complicated when considering DNA. To make an absolute case, one would need a direct sample from Elvis himself, but such material has never been made available for private testing, and for good reason. Legal and ethical barriers protect it from being used in disputes or unverified investigations. The alternative method would be to test against living relatives, yet even that can only point toward the possibility of shared ancestry. It cannot prove with certainty that Elvis fathered a specific child. How do these claims affect Elvis Presley's legacy? A legacy guarded and questioned. The story of Elvis Presley Jr. continues to spark interest, yet it exists within the shadow of a family history that is both celebrated and complicated. At the heart of that legacy was Lisa Marie Presley, the only child recognized by law and by blood as belonging to Elvis. From the very beginning of her life, Lisa Marie lived beneath the unrelenting gaze of the public. Her every move drew attention, not only because she was the daughter of the king of rock and roll, but because people expected her to carry forward a name that meant so much to the world. Her life was far from simple. She endured constant media coverage, personal struggles, and the weight of relationships that placed her in headlines again and again. Among her 4 marriages were unions to Michael Jackson and Nicolas Cage, names that drew even more curiosity from the press and the public. Through it all, she fought to preserve her father's memory, dedicating herself to keeping his music and his spirit alive for future generations. Lisa Marie's children became the next visible branch of Elvis's lineage. Her eldest, Riley Keough, built a career in Hollywood while keeping much of her personal life away from the spotlight. Her twins, Finley and Harper Lockwood, represented a younger generation carrying the Presley bloodline. Their presence offers a clear continuation of Elvis's legacy, a direct line that fans can see and understand. This reality stands in contrast to the mystery surrounding Presley Jr. and the claims of others who seek recognition as hidden heirs. Guarding all of this is the Presley estate, which operates out of Graceland. Those responsible for managing Elvis's legacy have long taken strong measures to protect his name and history. Attorneys, advisors, and historians like Corey Cooper have made it clear that no evidence has ever changed Lisa Marie's role as Elvis's only acknowledged child. Their position is firm not just because of legal matters, but also because of what Elvis symbolizes. His image represents American culture, music history, and a carefully protected story that continues to resonate worldwide. Unverified claims like those of Presley Jr. can challenge this narrative, and that is why the estate responds with caution. For them, it is about more than financial concerns. It is about preserving the dignity and memory of a man whose life blended fame, myth, and reality. Yet stories of hidden children hold a special kind of power. They suggest that legends leave behind untold chapters, that somewhere a piece of greatness lives on in secret. These stories captivate because they speak to the universal desire to belong, to be part of something larger than oneself. Elvis's death in 1977 at the age of 42 left behind questions that will never fully be answered. His life, marked by brilliance and mystery, continues to inspire endless fascination. With Lisa Marie's passing in 2023, the torch has passed to her children, who now carry his bloodline forward. Still, the claims of Presley Jr. remain a reminder that legacy is never simple. It is shaped by truth and myth, by love and loss, and by the timeless human search for identity. Guarding the King's legacy. The estate of Elvis Presley, managed through Elvis Presley Enterprises, stands as one of the most profitable and carefully protected legacies in the world of entertainment. Since Elvis's passing in 1977, those in charge have worked tirelessly to defend not only the financial strength of the estate, but also the story told about his life and family. Part of this protection includes shutting down any claims of undisclosed children that could disrupt the official narrative. While very few of these cases have ever turned into public courtroom battles, the estate has consistently acted behind the scenes. On several occasions, individuals have come forward declaring themselves to be children of Elvis, often relying on family stories or documents that cannot be proven. In such situations, the estate has responded quickly, sometimes sending cease and desist notices to prevent the use of Elvis's name or likeness in ways that might mislead the public. These steps protect not just money, but also the King's carefully guarded image. One example occurred in the 1990s, when a man claimed to be Elvis's son. Though the matter never reached a trial, it was reported that the estate's legal team moved swiftly to silence the claim. This quick action reflected the estate's broader strategy. Prolonged legal battles with the risk of exposing private family issues would only bring more media attention. For the estate, avoiding messy disputes in public courts helps preserve dignity and prevents sensational headlines that could tarnish the Presley name. Beyond legal efforts, the estate carefully shapes how Elvis's story is told to the world. Official books, documentaries, and other approved projects consistently highlight Lisa Marie Presley as the one true child of Elvis. She has always been recognized as the heir and guardian of her father's legacy. This message reinforces stability and leaves little room for alternative stories to gain ground. The estate's control goes even further. It manages Elvis's image on merchandise, the rights to his music, and the operation of Graceland itself. By holding this power, the estate ensures that Elvis remains the cultural icon they want him to be. Alternative claims are pushed aside, allowing fans and the media to see only a united and polished story of Elvis and his family. Some wonder why the estate rarely addresses paternity rumors directly. One reason could be that public denials might unintentionally give the claims more attention, making them seem more credible than they are. Others believe the estate is simply protecting the emotional well-being of surviving family members, who should not have to endure repeated public disputes. It is also likely that the estate feels confident in the official records and DNA evidence already available, leaving no need to defend what history has made clear. So, what exactly did the DNA test reveal in the middle of all this? Could Elvis Jr.'s claims be true? DNA hopes and unanswered questions. In recent years, the rise of direct-to-consumer DNA testing has transformed the way people explore family ties. Services such as Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, and MyHeritage have given millions of people the chance to uncover their roots and even confirm relationships that were once only matters of rumor or family legend. For Presley Jr., these tests seemed like a possible way to finally gain clarity about his lifelong claim of being connected to Elvis Presley. According to accounts from people close to him, Presley Jr. chose to take part in private DNA testing not long ago. The decision was said to be deeply personal, as it carried the weight of decades of uncertainty. For him, the test represented either the chance to validate the family story that had shaped his identity, or the possibility of putting long-standing doubts to rest. However, rather than delivering the answers he hoped for, the test seemed to create more confusion. Key details were never fully shared with the public. It remains unclear which company conducted the testing, what specific genetic markers were analyzed, and who oversaw the custody of the samples. Because of this lack of openness, scientists and reporters have been unable to confirm the process or interpret the results with confidence. The limited information that did emerge suggested there was no genetic match between Presley Jr. and known members of the Presley family. If true, this finding would challenge the very foundation of his claim and contradict the records and documents he has referenced for years. Yet, without verified test data, the outcome cannot be accepted as final proof either way. Supporters of Presley Jr. argue that technical errors, database restrictions, or the absence of direct Presley DNA samples could explain the unclear result. Critics, however, believe it only reinforces what many historians have always suspected, that the story, while intriguing, may not hold up under scientific examination. A legacy shaken by DNA. The revelation from a DNA test that showed no biological tie to Elvis Presley placed Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. in an emotional storm. For decades, he had embraced the identity of being the king's son, and suddenly the ground beneath him shifted. It was not only about questioning paternity, it was about facing the fragile pieces of identity and belonging. The truth, or lack of it, forced him to look back at the tangled world Elvis himself lived in during the 1960s. At that time, Elvis was more than a music legend. He was a man caught up in a life filled with public glory, but also private complications. Before his marriage to Priscilla in 1967, rumors of love affairs followed him constantly. Some of these relationships were little more than whispers, while others carried more weight. Among those connected to Presley Jr.'s birth story was Angelique Pettyjohn, an actress who had appeared in small roles, including in Blue Hawaii. Her name, like others, fits into the blurred history of Elvis's whirlwind years of filming and touring. Elvis's charm made him magnetic, not only to fans but also to actresses and fellow performers. While official accounts emphasize the faithfulness he showed later in life, speculation has always suggested that his romantic life was more complex. His marriage to Priscilla brought stability, and with the birth of Lisa Marie in 1968, the public saw a picture of a devoted father. Lisa Marie carried that role as the only acknowledged child, holding firmly to her position within the Presley legacy. Behind the curtain, family struggles added another layer. Elvis's mother, Gladys, passed away early, leaving a wound that shaped him deeply. His father, Vernon, was closely involved in controlling not only Elvis's career, but also his private affairs. Secrets and family image mattered, and whispers of hidden relationships were often pushed aside or carefully managed. For Presley Jr., the uncertainty left by the DNA results feeds both hope and confusion. If Elvis's life was surrounded by such complexity, is it possible that another figure within that same circle could be his father? Genealogical research hinted at ties to people in the entertainment industry of that era, but no conclusive answer emerged. But who is Elvis Presley's biological and legally recognized child, and what is her life like? Lisa Marie Presley, the only recognized heir of the king. Lisa Marie Presley's journey has always been more than just a life story. It has been the story of a woman carrying the weight of a legendary name while trying to carve out her place in the world. Being the only biological and legally recognized child of Elvis Presley, her existence was never private. From the moment she was born, Lisa Marie's life became a delicate balance between honoring her father's unmatched legacy and defining who she was beyond being the daughter of the king of rock and roll. Her personal life reflected this constant tug-of-war. Over the years, Lisa Marie married 4 times, each union unfolding under the watchful eyes of the media. Her first marriage was to Danny Keough, a musician who brought her a short period of calm away from the spotlight. Later came her high-profile marriage to global pop superstar Michael Jackson, a relationship that was endlessly discussed and speculated on by fans and tabloids alike. After that, she had a brief marriage to actor Nicolas Cage, which again invited a storm of headlines. Her longest marriage was to musician Michael Lockwood, with whom she had twin daughters. That chapter, however, also ended in a difficult and very public divorce. Each of these marriages showed not only her search for companionship, but also the heavy strain of living with fame and expectation. For Lisa Marie, love and family life were always challenged by the shadow of her father's memory. Being Elvis's daughter meant that every choice she made, every relationship she entered, was compared with the public's idea of what it meant to belong to the Presley family. Her role as mother to her 4 children, especially actress Riley Keough, added another layer to this story. Riley's rising career in Hollywood often drew comparisons to Elvis, placing even more attention on the Presley name. Lisa Marie found herself constantly caught between her duty to protect her children's privacy and the unending public curiosity about her family. As the only official heir, Lisa Marie also carried the responsibility of managing Elvis's estate. This task was not just about financial matters, but about protecting the cultural value of her father's name. She had to oversee Graceland, his music rights, and the global brand that Elvis had become. It was a job filled with pride, but also immense pressure, as fans around the world looked to her as the last direct link to their idol. The responsibility weighed heavily on her life, as she tried to honor her father's image while also living under the constant lens of scrutiny. Throughout her years, Lisa Marie avoided being drawn too deeply into controversies surrounding supposed illegitimate children of Elvis. Many individuals have claimed to be hidden heirs, yet none of these claims have been supported by official DNA evidence or recognized by the Presley estate. Lisa Marie rarely addressed such stories directly, but when she did, she often dismissed them as unfounded. Her silence in many cases seemed to be her way of keeping peace, avoiding unnecessary drama, and protecting her family from distractions. This restraint reflected her desire to keep her father's legacy dignified and shield her children from public battles over paternity claims. The fascination with Elvis's possible secret children is not surprising. Fame has a dark side, and in Elvis's case, his extraordinary popularity made him a magnet for rumors. The king's life was filled with myths, secrets, and exaggerated stories. His relationships with women, both brief and long-lasting, created endless speculation. Some women he met during tours or while filming movies have come forward with claims of being connected to him. Others emerged from towns he visited or from within the entertainment industry, suggesting brief encounters that might have resulted in children. Yet none of these stories have ever been proven. Despite timing, location, or circumstantial details, no individual has produced DNA evidence strong enough to be legally acknowledged. Historians in the Presley estate continue to recognize only Lisa Marie as Elvis's true child. Every other claim remains unverified, and for the most part, dismissed as speculation. This mix of rumor and reality has only strengthened the legend surrounding Elvis Presley. His untimely death left many questions unanswered, and the lack of closure has made space for myths to grow. People are drawn to the idea that the king might have hidden heirs because it makes the story larger, more mysterious, and more dramatic. But when the facts are carefully examined, only one truth stands firm. Lisa Marie Presley was and remains the sole biological and legally recognized daughter of Elvis. Her life was never easy, but it was uniquely significant. She stood at the crossroads of history and myth, carrying her father's name while trying to live her truth. The story of Lisa Marie Presley reminds us that behind every legend is a family that must live with both the glory and the burden of fame. And in the case of Elvis, Lisa Marie was not just his daughter. She was his only heir, the one person who truly connected the man and the myth. The enduring mystery of Elvis's hidden children. Elvis Presley's name carries a weight unlike any other in music history. Decades after his passing, his voice, style, and spirit remain alive in the hearts of millions. He was not only the king of rock and roll, but also a symbol of an era filled with change, passion, and rebellion. Because of this powerful legacy, people still search for new ways to feel close to him. And one of the most fascinating ideas that continues to stir the public is the possibility of hidden children. The thought that the king may have left behind secret heirs adds mystery to a story already larger than life. The fascination with hidden children of celebrities comes from a deep human need for connection. Fans want to believe that their idol lives on not only through songs and memories, but also through bloodlines. If someone could step forward and prove themselves as Elvis's child, it would feel like a direct link to the man himself, as if his presence had been carried forward into another generation. That hope and desire create a powerful mix of curiosity and wonder, fueling stories, claims, and rumors. Elvis's mythos makes these stories even more magnetic. He was known as a man of great charm, admired by women all over the world and often surrounded by attention wherever he went. That public image naturally made people wonder if his personal life held secrets. When the world lost him so suddenly in 1977, the sense of loss left behind created fertile ground for imagination. Fans longed for something more, some proof that the king's legacy was not finished, and tales of hidden children fit perfectly into that longing. This type of fascination is not unique to Elvis, but because of his iconic status, it shines brighter in his case. Other entertainers have also faced similar stories. One example often tied to the Elvis myth is the performer known as Orion. He appeared on the music scene wearing a mask, with a voice uncannily close to Elvis's. For a time, fans whispered that Orion might be Elvis himself in disguise, somehow having staged his death. When the truth came out that Orion was singer Jimmy Ellis, it still did not erase the rumors. Instead, it added another layer to the folklore, keeping alive the notion that Elvis's story could never be simple. There have also been several individuals who stepped forward to claim they were the king's children. Some presented documents, others shared personal stories, and many leaned on physical resemblance as evidence. While none of these claims have been legally confirmed, they continue to spark attention because they tap into the emotional pull of Elvis's legend. The possibility, even without proof, is enough to make people wonder. Each new claim, whether true or not, reminds fans of their desire to feel connected to the man they admired. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.